everybody. My name is Leslie Pyle, and I am the founder of HireMyMom.com. And today I'm excited to have Mary Clavier. Did I say it right?
You
It's
did.
a fancy name. She told me it's French, and I was like, how do you pronounce that? Because the spelling's a little bit different, and I wasn't quite sure how to pronounce it. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm excited for my audience to get to know about you and all the fun things that you offer and do. I know you kind of multifaceted entrepreneur. So tell us about you.
Yeah, thanks, Leslie. I'm excited to be here. So my name's Maryclavie, as you mentioned. I'm the founder of the Transitions Collective. So it's a community and a platform really for moms building businesses from the ground up. Along with that, I also do consulting in the same area. So we'll get into some of that more, I think, too, but using the Herman Brain Dominance instrument. So I really work with entrepreneurs and business owners on how they can leverage their thinking preferences to really build their business in a stronger, more cohesive way so that they're not spinning their wheels and they can actually, get to where they want to go.
Wow, that's fascinating. Okay, so tell us how you got your start. Now, did you just wake up one day and said, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, or what happened?
Yeah, no, not so much. I spent about 15 years in pharmaceutical manufacturing. So I had a corporate job for a while. And I'd say the idea for my first business and how I really got started was after the birth of my first daughter. So it's a very transformational time. Yeah, exactly. And I ended up with an emergency C-section, and I ran out of the underwear that they give you in the hospital. So for those may already be familiar, but we have postpartum mesh underwear that are super stretchy and they really help during recovery. So I ran out of mine and I couldn't find more to buy afterwards. And it just started with a question, really, like, why aren't these available for women? Women deserve to have what they need for postpartum recovery. Right. And that kind of got me just starting, like, I had a manufacturing background. I said, okay, maybe I can do something with this. They exist already at the hospital. Maybe I can bring them to market for moms so that they can buy them when they need them. Right. And it was really just like, I would do one thing and then a few months later do another thing. I never meant for it to be a business, a standalone business. Right. And then a couple of years later, I ended up leaving my corporate job to continue building Brief Transitions full time. So that's kind of what got me started on the entrepreneur track.
Yeah, I love it. There's so many women that get that sort of light bulb moment, because of their own need. And that was sort of how Hire My Mom came about, because I did not want to go back to full-time work after I had my first child. And that was 25 years ago. So working from home, remote work was not a thing, but it was a passion that I've just followed all these years later. And now, I've been working from home for 25 years, but there are new moms every day that are like, I want to work from home, especially now with the crazy economy and COVID and everything. There's even more reason that moms and a lot of people want to work from home. So, I think that transition into motherhood does a lot of things in a positive way for us moms. So that's fun. Okay, so tell us, how do you help business owners scale their business more effectively?
Yeah, so I do that with the Herman Brain Dominance instrument. That's one tool that I use. So it's an assessment that people can take that tells them their thinking preferences. Okay, so we all have different ways that we prefer to think. It's not a personality test, and it's not, preferences are different than capability, I'd say. So if you think about, like, when you're faced with a new situation or a new problem that you want to solve, it's more about how does your brain prefer to think and how do you go about solving that problem?
Okay.
So the assessment actually shows you have 4 quadrants to the brain. And so what I do is I help people understand what their thinking preferences are, and then how they can use that information to either build better business strategies or hire the right people for the right type of role that they need support with. It depends on what they're going through, but entrepreneurs, especially when they're starting out, you need to be working in all areas of your business, even if you don't want to or don't prefer to, or even if you're not good at working at all of those areas, right? So I kind of shine the light on that and have the conversations around what can you do to make that feel better. and get to your goals.
Awesome. That's very interesting. So tell me what one of those groups is. They
So
divided, how many different groups are there? I'm not.
There's four.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So there's 4 quadrants. So I can give high level on them. Yeah. So one of the quadrants is the analytical quadrant. That's where all of the data and the business financials lives. You know, if you're looking in terms of a business, there's the D quadrant, it's the Y quadrant, it's the creative thinking, the long-term vision, and like where your purpose and mission live, like all the creativity that goes into like idea generation.
Okay.
The C quadrant is the relational quadrant. So that's everything that deals with people and relationships and emotions, and think like customer service type of stuff.
Okay.
And then the B quadrant is it's the more practical, tactical quadrant. So that's where all the systems and processes and like day-to-day like implementation and administrative work kind of lives.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's very interesting because you need all 4, but obviously you're more geared in one or the other.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fascinating. I've never heard of that. So very intrigued by it. So what are the benefits of understanding your thinking preferences?
So really, I mean, the first benefit I would say is really around self-awareness, because you just learn so much more. It's like a reflection to you of kind of who you are and how you prefer to think. It gives you a baseline to go from on like, okay, and kind of thinking, you know, we're usually in our own bubble running our business and kind of thinking about like, okay, is that reflective of what I do, and bringing in awareness, because I think that's a really important first step for people.
Right.
And then depending where you are in your business, if you need additional support, you can really map out who to hire based on, or like what type of role to hire for based on what your thinking preferences are. Or even like as an individual, I know for your audience too, there's people that are looking for their jobs or for their freelance work, even knowing their thinking preferences can help them decide what types of jobs to look for.
That's,
you know,
if they're not, I think that's great. That's great advice.
Yeah, because then you can really see like, okay, what are your preferences? How do you usually, you know, interact, or where do you go as you problem solve? And it really makes a difference for when you're looking at what types of jobs do you want to do, you know?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So where do you see businesses struggle when it comes to scaling their business?
I'd say the biggest place where I see them struggle is with hiring, actually, you know, which you're probably so familiar with.
Yes, speak my language.
Exactly. And I'd say the other one is around having the processes in place, like looking at it in a whole brain way. So part of this assessment teaches whole brain thinking, so you can really use all those quadrants, because I see people they're usually stuck with wherever they prefer to go. So if they love generating ideas, they're always generating ideas, and they're not necessarily following through and finishing the project. Right?
I know people like that.
Yeah. So they're not incorporating that quadrant into their work. So really mapping it out and approaching it in a whole brain way is like, it's the alternative to the struggle.
Yes. So when you say they struggle with hiring, in what regard do they struggle with that aspect?
Yeah, I'd say it's usually they want to hire someone, or they know they need help, but they're not sure where in their business.
Oh, yes.
So they usually end up wanting to just hire someone that's like them, because they want them to be able to do the same things that they do, or, you know, follow exactly, you know, what they're comfortable with. But in reality, you usually need to hire people that have very different skill sets from you, especially as a business owner.
Right. Sort of not necessarily an opposite, but you know, they say often that opposites attract. And I don't know about you, but my husband in some ways is very opposite, and he complements my weaknesses, and I'd say vice versa, not in every way, but I'd say that's true in business too, because there are things that I enjoy and I would say I'm fairly good at, and there are things that I'm not good at, and I should probably hire the things I'm not so good at, and the things I don't like to do. And I recommend that often, you know, what do you not like to do, and what are you not good at? Okay, those are the first things that you should look to hire someone to do.
Yeah, exactly. Because otherwise what's going to happen, they're going to always stay at the bottom of your list because you're never going to want to do them.
Right.
So like if you're really, uncomfortable with social media or you don't like to do it now, maybe that's not a great example because I do think everyone should have some experience with their own social media account.
But maybe accounting, like QuickBooks might
Yes.
terrify you. Okay,
Yes.
well, that's not my jam either. So
Right.
that's why I have a CPA do all that, because
Right.
I can mess up a spreadsheet quicker than anyone.
That was my first hire too.
Yeah. Okay. So what is something that you found as critical to your own success?
The biggest thing more recently, I would say, is taking time for myself.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, because I was kind of always on the go and not really taking that time for myself. I have two young daughters, and between work and now and everything with the pandemic too, and everything, the schedules are crazy and everything is hectic, and I wasn't taking the time for me, and I found that really slowed me down in the wrong kind of way.
Yeah.
So
It can
now I find that it's really critical.
and burnout and depression and just a lot of ugly balls that don't need to be stirred up. I can speak from experience too. Like I said, doing this 25 years, I've gone from toddlers to now my oldest is 25 and married. So I've kind of gone through that whole process. And there are times, I will just say from my own experience, where, it's a little more hands-on with the business. It's in a growth phase or it's in a busy phase. And, I need more help at home. And then on the flip side, maybe business is kind of running along, going well. And it's kind of a time where I can pull back a little bit, have, some of my team take over some things and do more family things. So for me, it's kind of been one of these where it's not ever been constant. I can't say that I work any one week is the same as far as hours or what I'm, how many hours I do this or that or the other. It's the flexibility. And I think for me, just keeping in check, okay, am I spending time with my kids, with my husband? And for me, my faith is very important, and friends, being connected on all those levels and not letting any of them go completely. Because when we do, it's just can lead to just a downward spiral.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the best word for it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, and I think it's okay to be authentic and real and know that, none of us are perfect. We're going to mess up and we're going to find ourselves. Sometimes we've worked more than we should, or sometimes we've neglected our business because we, wanted to have more fun and go on a long vacation or whatever it might be. But, that's the beautiful thing about being your own boss is you can come back and you can have a fresh start the next day and learn from any mistakes that you make.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that. Like, I don't mind to learn. I'd rather have the flexibility and like be able to, set my days and kind of set my schedule and everything.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So tell us, if somebody wants to learn more about you and about your services, how can they find you?
Sure. Yeah. So the best place to find me is thetransitionscollective.com. So that's where you can find more. And I'm also on Instagram with the same name at the Transitions Collective. Okay. So those are the best places. And I do also have a business scorecard. So if anyone in your audience wants to evaluate what's going on with their business right now or which quadrants they may need more support in or anything like that, I can send that over to you as well.
Okay. Yeah. And we'll link that in the description for anybody that wants to take a look at that. So, all right. Well, thank you, Mary. This has been super helpful and super fun. I'm sure that a lot have learned, just like I have, on these different quadrants. And that's just fascinating to me.
Yeah, it's really powerful. Thank you so much for the time today, Leslie. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.